These are the images sending shockwaves around the world. Venezuela is on a knife's edge after the fallout from the presidential election. The winner? Well, it depends who you ask, with both leaders claiming victory. For now, protesters are making their voices heard, and what happens next, only time will tell. Sky News Digital Originals presents Venezuelan Crisis. The fallout from Venezuela's presidential election has been chaotic and confusing. You have the president claiming he won the election and the opposition leader claiming he won and alleging electoral fraud. Since the vote, the president has bowed to pressure and asked the Supreme Court to conduct an audit of the election. In the wake of the result, opposition supporters took to the streets casting concern over the president's victory. And as protests against their leader continue, many are now asking, are the Venezuelan people rising up?
Well, that is the big question. And the mood today, I asked quite a few people at the opposition march if they had faith, if they had hope that something would change. And some of them said, we have certainty, something will change. We have the proof. We're supposed to live in a democracy, so something will change. It's just a matter of time. That was quite different to yesterday when I spoke to people and like, well, we hope so. But look, we've seen this before because there were protests in 2017, 2014. A number of people died. There's been times where the opposition thought they might win and they didn't. Even when Maduro came to power in 2013, the margins were very, very slim and Maduro just took power. Now, a lot of people allege that was fraudulent as well. But this time they say it's different. The margin is so big, it's meant to be about 40%, that people do think things are going to change. Now, the big question is over the armed forces. The armed forces, at least the head of the armed forces, is very allied with Maduro at the minute. Now, if we see any of the armed forces go over to the opposition, now that could really be a game changer. But for now, it's really a wait and see. The president usually, and in this case as well, the president always blames the opposition. He sees the opposition as the far right extremists, he calls them, far right extremists and fascists. So he believes by people going out on the street that they're there because of Edmundo Gonzalez, because of Maria Corina. He believes this is inciting violence, that they are the ones causing violence, and that it's because of them and because of the US and its allies, because actually they see the opposition basically as being allied with the US and the international community, and that they want to take over Venezuela and destroy the socialist revolution. They want to take all its resources. So there's a lot of mistrust on the government side and from Maduro supporters against the opposition and opposition supporters.
After the election, the country's electoral authority declared Nicolás Maduro the victor, saying he claimed 51% of the vote.
I can say in front of the people of Venezuela and the world, I'm President Nicolás Maduro, re-elected President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and I will defend our democracy, our law, and our people. I tell you, people of Venezuela, they tried to stop the announcement. They tried to rob electoral centres. I didn't say anything. But in the past few days, we captured people in many states. They are convicted and have confessed who wanted to burn electoral centres. I've asked the General Attorney to have an iron hand with terrorists, with opposition protesters, with violent people. We will not allow them to create a spiral of violence.
But conflicting reports have emerged out of Venezuela. The opposition has disputed the victory, claiming that challenger Edmundo Gonzalez secured a commanding 70% of the vote.
Edmundo Gonzalez received 70% of the votes in this election, and Nicolás Maduro received 30% of the votes. This is the truth. And my dear Venezuelans, this is the Venezuelan election, with the largest margin of victory in history. Congratulations, Edmundo.
The opposition cites independent exit polls and quick counts as proof of his decisive victory. The Carter Center sent international observers to monitor the election, and they have claimed that Venezuela's 2024 presidential election did not meet international standards of electoral integrity and cannot be considered democratic. As tensions escalate and accusations fly, the nation braces for what promises to be a turbulent aftermath to this fiercely contested election.
Today, there's been 2 organised protests. There was one by Maria Corina Machado and also Edmundo Gonzalez. That was called as a part of a peaceful march where she was talking about the opposition having these, what they call actas, which are like these voting tallies, basically. And they've said now that they have about 90% of them, and they can prove that Edmundo Gonzalez won the election over Nicolás Maduro, and not just won by a slim margin, but absolutely won by a landslide. Now, it was quite interesting today because I went down to the opposition march, and the atmosphere had completely changed since yesterday. On the night of the election, on Sunday evening, when the National Electoral Council announced the results, everybody was kind of heartbroken, to be honest, in the opposition team. And then the atmosphere yesterday turned from heartbreak to anger, real anger in the streets. Whereas today it completely changed. Instead of a lot of the protesters throughout this, they've been saying he's going to fall, he's going to fall. So even in the campaign rallies before the election, today it wasn't he's going to fall, but he has fallen. Now he's still in power, but by saying he has fallen, what they were trying to say is like, we have the proof to get him out of government. There's an actual Maduro supporter march going on right now.
And as supporters on both sides take to the streets, many people in Venezuela and around the world are asking what will happen next.
Honestly, so many people are asking that, and they were asking it before the election when they thought this might be a likely scenario, and they're still asking it now. The basic answer is we just don't know. There's a lot of like what ifs that still remain to be resolved, but definitely the mood has changed. People are more positive. They think that he will fall, but it depends how long this goes on for. It depends how much Maduro clamps down, how much people are scared from taking to the streets. At the minute, there's a lot of energy to go out onto the streets, a lot of energy to, fight for freedom, to fight what they say is justice. If it's proved that he has presided over a fraudulent election, but we just have to see what the armed forces do, what Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez say next as well, and how the population respond to that.
So, who is President Nicolás Maduro?
Nicolás Maduro came into power in 2013 after his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, died, and he named Nicolás Maduro as his successor. He was his protege, basically. Now, he did have to go to election. So he went to election with a guy called Enrique Capriles, and Maduro just won. But really, Maduro has never enjoyed the popular support that Hugo Chavez did. Hugo Chavez was a hugely popular persona, basically, in Venezuelan society. He promised to, reduce poverty, and he did that to a large extent. Now, a lot of that, most of it, that was funded by oil wealth. Yeah. So there was a lot of oil wealth, a lot of social spending, a lot of spending on social programs. There was a lot of corruption as well, but people didn't really talk about that so much because they were getting their houses, they were getting, different benefits. But when Nicolás Maduro came to power, not long after, there was a huge oil crash. So that kind of wasn't really in his favor. But also there was a lot of economic mismanagement, a lot of corruption. They weren't managing properly the petroleum industry, electricity and gas. And then there was a big clampdown on human rights as well. And then eventually the US brought in sanctions, which exacerbated the entire situation. There was already a humanitarian and economic crisis before that had even been put in place, and people started leaving the country, and we've seen a quarter of the population leave, and many of those people want to come back, and they say they will come back if Edmundo Gonzalez takes power in February.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez is hoping to usher in a new era of leadership.
I mean, the population who support the opposition see him kind of as a vehicle, as a tool for a huge change. he never wanted to be president. This was never, this was never in his plans. He's a retired diplomat. He's 74 years old. He was the placeholder candidate, almost just in case anything went wrong, if Maria Corina wasn't allowed to stand, because she actually named somebody else when she wasn't allowed to stand. And then this woman couldn't register either, the other woman. So then it fell upon Edmundo Gonzalez to actually, stand in the presidential election. So people who support the opposition see that he's made a huge sacrifice, and they see him as a bit of a grandpa figure in a way. Maria Corina Machado has been doing a lot of the campaign. She has really, really been the face of the campaign. He has joined her on some of the marches in the lead up to the election, especially in the last couple of weeks. And yeah, they've been working together recently. So they're kind of seen as a duo, as the Machado-Gonzalez duo.
There's been a mixed response to the result from around the world, the United States raising serious concerns surrounding the results.
We applaud the Venezuelan people for their participation in the July 28th presidential election. We commend their courage and commitment to democracy in the face of repression and in the face of adversity. We've seen the announcement just a short while ago by the Venezuelan Electoral Commission. We have serious concerns that the result announced does not reflect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people. It's critical that every vote be counted fairly and transparently, that election officials immediately share information with the opposition and independent observers without delay, and that the electoral authorities publish the detailed tabulation of votes. The international community is watching this very closely and will respond accordingly.
Argentine President Javier Milei called the official result a fraud, whilst Costa Rica and Peru rejected it. Chile said it would not accept any result that was not verifiable. But Russia and Cuba cheered Maduro's victory.
I mean, any international reaction here has a big impact on the morale of the people. Venezuela has been going through an economic and humanitarian crisis for the last few years. Now, that did garner some attention at some point when, there were lots of people leaving in 2018, 2019, when there wasn't any food in the supermarkets. But since then, the attention from the international community has kind of trickled away, and people have felt very, very abandoned. So even me being here as a journalist, when they find out that I'm from abroad, they're like, thank you for being here. Thank you for covering this. Any positive comment or any comments that shows that there's an alliance, that people are standing with Venezuela and its people, is very, very positively received.
As the fallout from the contested election result continues, high-profile figures are throwing their support behind the opposition.
So Elon Musk has been tweeting a lot about this since yesterday, and so has Richard Branson now as well, showing their support for Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez and the Venezuelan people who support them as well. This is kind of positive in one sense, that the opposition supporters like this. They like the international attention. They like having someone with a huge platform that's actually backing them. But it also plays into the hands of Maduro as well, because he's heavily criticized Elon Musk for doing this, and his whole narrative is around these imperialists, these Americans, these Europeans that want to come here and help the far right extreme government, and they want to take all our resources and they want to take over the country. So in one sense it's very positive, the opposition, but in one sense it's also very positive and plays into the hands of the government and government supporters as well.
And in an even more bizarre turn of events, the president challenged Elon Musk to a fight.
Elon Musk, you were desperate. You went off the rails. Elon Musk, control yourself, or you will fail just like this right-wing led all-American politicians to fail. Elon Musk, whoever messes with me dries up. Whoever messes with Venezuela dries up. Elon Musk, you want to fight? Let's have it. Elon Musk, I am ready. I am son of Bolivar and Chavez. I'm not afraid of you, Elon Musk. Let's go at it wherever you want. As we say in Caracas in the neighborhoods, if you want it, I want it. Elon Musk, just say where. Venezuela must be respected. We do not accept interventionism from anyone.